326 BC, northern India, the Jhelum River Valley. Alexander the Great has never lost a battle. Not a skirmish, not a siege, not a river crossing, not an ambush. In 11 years of continuous war across 3 continents, no army has broken his line, turned his flank, or forced him to retreat. He has 40,000 soldiers behind him, Macedonian infantry, Persian cavalry, Indian war elephants, siege engineers, and the finest officer corps the ancient world has ever produced. He needs to cross this valley. There is one way through. On the ridge above the crossing, 5 Navy SEALs are waiting. The position, a narrow rock shelf, 40 meters wide, carved into the cliff face 70 meters above the valley floor. One approach from below, sheer rock on 3 sides. The valley mouth visible for 2 full kilometers in either direction. Any army crossing this valley has to pass directly beneath this shelf. The 5 men have been here for 6 hours. They have not moved. They have not spoken above a whisper. They have mapped every meter of the killing ground below them with laser rangefinders, marking distances on the rock face with chalk. Each mark is a threshold. Each threshold is a different weapon, a different problem, a different decision. Their equipment, 4 HK-416 rifles with suppressors, 10 magazines each, 1 Barrett M82A 1.50 caliber, 8 rounds, 4 fragmentation grenades per man, 2 Claymore mines, command detonated, already positioned on the single approach path from below. Total rounds, approximately 1,300, against 40,000 soldiers. Now comes the mathematics. A Macedonian phalanx moves at roughly 1.5 meters per second in battle formation. From the first rangefinder mark at 1,800 meters to the base of the cliff is 20 minutes of continuous movement. 20 minutes is 1,200 seconds. To stop 40,000 soldiers in 1,200 seconds, the 5 men must eliminate 33 targets every second, continuously. Without pause, without misfire, without reloading. 5 rifles, 1,300 rounds total. Even if every single round kills, they can account for 1,300 men out of 40,000. That is 3% of the force. Basic arithmetic says they die on this ridge. But arithmetic does not account for what a .50 caliber BMG round does to a column of men packed shoulder to shoulder in a narrow valley. The Barrett M82A1 fires a 42-gram projectile at 900 meters per second. Impact, it delivers 17,000 joules of kinetic energy. The Macedonian sarissa pike, the most feared weapon of the ancient world, delivers 80 joules at full thrust. The ratio between those 2 numbers is the entire battle. When a .50 caliber round enters a column of infantry packed 3 men deep, it does not stop at the first body. It passes through. The hydrostatic shock alone ruptures organs in men the bullet never touches. It enters the second soldier. It exits. It strikes the third. The column does not lose 1 man. It loses a corridor. Every shot does not subtract 1 from 40,000. It subtracts a whole. Arithmetic is for single targets. Physics is for columns. This is what the 5 men are counting on. The army appears at the valley mouth at first light. It comes as a sound before it comes as a sight. A low vibration in the rock, transmitted up through the cliff face into the prone bodies of 5 men who feel it in their chests before they hear it with their ears. Then the sound itself, 10,000 sandals on hard earth, the clank of bronze on bronze, the low, rhythmic percussion of a force that has crossed deserts and mountain ranges and never once doubted where it was going. The column enters the valley. The vanguard, Macedonian hydaspes, elite infantry in bronze breastplates, moving in tight formation, sarissa pikes angled forward. Behind them, the main phalanx, 16 men deep, the famous hedgehog of steel points that has broken every line it has ever touched. Behind them, cavalry. Behind them, more infantry. The column fills the valley floor from wall to wall. The Barrett is already on the lead officer. Distance, 1,800 meters. Wind, 6 kilometers per hour from the northwest. Temperature, 19 degrees Celsius. The shooter enters the corrections without speaking. The spotter reads numbers in a flat voice. There is no ceremony. There is no countdown. The trigger breaks. The round crosses 1,800 meters in 2 seconds. The sound of the shot follows 4 seconds later. The lead officer drops from his horse before anyone in the valley hears anything. His horse does not react. The men beside him do not react. He is simply no longer standing. Silence. Then a second shot. The standard bearer beside him goes down, the Macedonian banner falling into the dust of the valley floor. The column stops. There is a specific kind of confusion that happens when soldiers die without warning at distances they cannot comprehend. It is not fear yet. It is a failure of the brain's threat detection system. The Macedonian soldiers in that valley are not cowards. They have charged Persian cavalry, Egyptian fortresses, Indian war elephants. They understand danger. What they do not have is a mental category for what is happening. Men are dying from a direction with no enemy in it, from a distance beyond the range of any weapon they have ever seen or heard of, without sound, without warning, without any visible cause. Alexander reads the situation in under a minute. He has done this at every battle of his career, absorbed chaos, identified the variable, responded. He orders the column to spread laterally, reducing the density of the target. He orders cavalry to sweep the ridgeline at full gallop. He orders shields up across the entire front rank. The Barrett fires twice more. Both cavalry officers leading the sweep fall from their horses at 1,200 meters. The sweep stops. 6 rounds remaining. The HK-416s come into the fight at 800 meters. The suppressor on a .556 rifle does not make it silent. It makes it quieter than the ambient noise of a valley filled with 10,000 men in bronze armor. The soldiers in the valley cannot locate the source. They hear something above the natural noise of the formation, a flat crack, irregular, directionless. Men in the front ranks drop. There is no visible projectile. There is no visible enemy. There is only the result. Alexander does not stop the advance. This is historically consistent. He has never stopped an advance. He adapts it. He pushes the hydaspes forward in close formation, shields locked, using the packed density of the phalanx as its own armor. He is correct that this reduces individual vulnerability. He does not know that it increases collective vulnerability. A .556 round traveling at 920 meters per second through a packed formation does not behave like an arrow. An arrow slows. An arrow deflects. A steel core rifle round at this velocity does not slow and does not deflect. It passes through the first man, retains 60% of its energy, and enters the second. In a locked shield formation, the men have no space to fall. They collapse in place, disrupting the formation from inside. The column begins to compress. The front slows. The rear pushes forward. The valley floor becomes a compression zone. This is the first threshold. Distance, 500 meters. At 500 meters, a new problem enters the fight. The valley walls are narrowing. The column is no longer spread. It is funneled. The density increases not because Alexander ordered it, but because the terrain demands it. Men who were 10 meters apart are now 4 meters apart. 4 meters apart are now 2. The kill zone is concentrating itself without any action from the ridge. The claymores detonate at 300 meters. Each M18A1 claymore contains 700 steel balls behind a curved C4 plate. Detonated simultaneously, they produce intersecting arcs of fragmenting steel across the full width of the approach path. At 300 meters in a compressed column, the effect is not tactical. It is geometric. Every steel ball that enters the column finds a body. The front 40 meters of the Macedonian advance ceases to exist as a military unit in under 1 second. The column stops. Not from fear, from physics. The approach path is blocked by what was just the front of the column. Alexander sees this. He does not hesitate. He orders the second rank to move through the first. They begin climbing over what the claymores left. The claymores are gone. 5 rifles. 4 grenades each, approximately 900 rounds remaining. Distance, 280 meters. Now comes the part the mathematics could not predict. The barrels are hot. Not warm, hot. The metal is expanding inside the tolerances it was designed for, but at the edge of those tolerances. The shots are still accurate, but the groupings are opening. At 280 meters, this does not matter. At 280 meters, the column is so dense that a miss in one direction is a hit in another. But the heat mirage has begun. Above a hot rifle barrel, air temperature differentials create optical distortion. The image in the scope shimmers. At 280 meters and closing, this is manageable. At 150 meters, it will not matter, but it is a sign of where the weapons are going. The column is 200 meters out. Alexander is visible in the scope, not leading from the front this time. He is positioned at the rear of the advance, directing. He has identified the ridge as a fixed position and concluded, correctly, that the men on it have finite ammunition. He is not trying to defeat the weapons. He is trying to outlast them. He is right. The grenades go at 150 meters. 4 men throwing 4 grenades each into a compressed column at 150 meters. 16 detonations across the approach path in 6 seconds. At this range, the fragmentation radius of each RGD-5 grenade is 25 meters. The overlapping kill zones cover the entire approach. The front of the column dissolves. The column stops again. but it does not retreat. Behind the fallen front rank, the second rank steps forward. Behind them, 10,000 more men wait in the valley. Rounds remaining, approximately 600. Distance, 120 meters. Still closing. This is what the 5 men knew from the beginning. The technology is not the answer. The technology buys time. The answer is what the technology does to the psychology of men who have no framework for it. The soldiers at the front of that column have now watched their comrades die at 1,800 meters from nothing, at 800 meters from nothing, from explosions at 300 meters that came from nowhere, from more explosions at 150 meters. They have advanced through 4 separate walls of death, and they are still being asked to advance through a 5th. They are not cowards. They are Macedonian hydaspes, the finest infantry of the ancient world. They have charged Persian immortals. They do not break easily, but there is a distance, not measured in meters, at which the human brain stops processing a situation as a military problem and starts processing it as something else, as divine punishment, as a cursed ground, as a place where the normal rules of survival no longer apply. That distance is different for every man, but it exists for every man. The front rank stops at 100 meters, not ordered to stop. They stop. The second rank presses them forward. They resist. The third rank does not understand why the front has stopped and pushes harder. The compression increases. Officers shout. The column is no longer an army. It is a crowd. Alexander reads this in seconds. He rides forward. His presence alone has turned battles before. Soldiers who were breaking have held because Alexander was visible among them. He pushes through the column toward the front. The Barrett has 2 rounds left. At 900 meters, the round covers the distance in 1 second. At that range, against a stationary man on horseback, the shot is not difficult. The round strikes the ground 2 meters in front of Alexander's horse. The horse rears. Alexander controls it. He has always been a superb horseman. He is unhurt. The last Barrett round goes into the column at 80 meters, not at a single target, into the densest point of the compression. 1 round, 4 bodies. The Barrett is empty. The column is at 80 meters and has not broken. 600 rifle rounds remain. Against 40,000 soldiers, 600 rounds is 40 minutes of single fire at 1 target per second. It is also enough to hold 80 meters for a very long time, because at 80 meters, the approach path is still choked with what the claymores and grenades left, and the column cannot increase its pace through the obstruction. This is where the battle settles into its final form. Not a rout, not a clean victory, a grinding hold at 80 meters, round by round, with Alexander directing from the rear and the 5 men on the ridge rationing every shot. Minutes pass. The column tests the approach twice more and is turned back twice more. The valley fills with the sound of men in bronze armor who cannot go forward and will not go back. Then, something happens that no weapon caused. A rumor moves through the column from front to back. The men at the front cannot explain what is killing them. The men at the back are hearing that the ridge is defended by something that cannot be killed, that fires invisible bolts from distances that do not exist, that has already destroyed everything sent against it. The rumor is not wrong. It is simply a medieval brain's translation of facts it has no language for. The column begins to pull back, slowly. Not a rout, a withdrawal. Organized, disciplined, Macedonian, but back. Alexander does not order it. He watches it happen and does not stop it. He has read this battle correctly from the beginning. He knows what his soldiers are experiencing. He also knows that whatever is on that ridge will eventually run out of the invisible bolts. And when it does, 40,000 men will still be in this valley. He is right about that too, but not today. The valley is empty by mid-morning. 5 men on a rock shelf, 70 meters above the valley floor. The approach path below them is impassable. The chalk distance marks on the rock face are still there. Rounds remaining, 340. Barrett, empty. Claymores, gone. Grenades, gone. The final accounting. In one engagement, against the army of Alexander the Great, 5 men held a fixed position for 4 hours. They killed or incapacitated an estimated 200 to 300 Macedonian soldiers. They stopped an advance of 40,000. They expended 75% of their total ammunition. Alexander's army is intact. It will find another route through the valley within a day. History does not change. But for 4 hours on a rock shelf above the Jhelum River, 5 men with rifles stood between the greatest army the ancient world ever produced and the ground it needed. The army blinked first, not because the weapons were infinite, because the men holding them did not move.